No, not fast enough. This speed is not enough for me to dodge the turtle bite. Hansen's body was moving at a dazzling speed and his feet almost became a blur with sparkle deployed. Although Hansen spent most of his time on Gladiator, he would train 1 hour per day without the holographic device. In the virtual combat, he could not sense every single detail, which made the 1-hour training a must. The location Hansen chose to use for his training was the venue of Heavy Warframe Society, which continued to be an unpopular society. After Fatty and Skinny graduated, only Hansen and his friends remained in the society. Jingjia watched Hansen train with complex emotions. Since he lost to Hansen last time, Jingjia had studied the spinning arrow even harder for a long time. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not be as good as Hansen. Hearing about Hansen's training, Jingjia decided to wait for Hansen there and talk to him. However, Hansen directly started training since he came here, so Jingjia watched and waited. After watching for a while, Jingjia's look had changed. Although Hansen was simply doing a shuttle run practice, Jingjia was shocked by Hansen's speed. He had only seen such speed among evolvers. In all the unevolved person he knew, Jingjia had never witnessed such speed, not even with his big brother Jingjiu. Do you need me for anything? After training, Hansen sat down on a chair, wiped his face, drank some water, and looked to Jingjia. He had noticed Jingjia since the beginning. You said you would teach me spinning arrow. Is that true? Said Jingjia, chewing on his lips. For someone as proud as Jingjia, it was not easy to plead. Of course, if you want to learn, all you need to do is to pay me tuition, and then I would feel happy to teach you, said Hansen with a smile. Aren't you afraid that I will learn from you and then defeat you? Jingjia stared at Hansen and asked. Hansen had finished the bottle of water, threw the empty bottle into the trash can, and said, as long as it is something I have learned, I will be the best at it. If you want to learn, I could teach you any time, but you will never be able to beat me. Looking at Hansen's expression, Jingjia gritted his teeth and said, I want to learn. When can you start to teach me? If you pay me, we can start now. Hansen smiled and said. Jingjia immediately paid Hansen what he asked. He did not believe he would lose to Hansen. With his talent, all he lacked was Hansen's tricks. As long as he learned Hansen's tricks, he would never lose to Hansen again. After returning to his dorm, Hansen received a call from Gambler, who told him that there was a new mission assigned by the management. After reviewing the information Gambler sent him, Hansen was surprised that there was such a person in God's sanctuary. Hansen pondered and told Gambler that he would like to take on the mission himself. On one hand, the mission was too dangerous for most of the other members in the special squad. On the other hand, Hansen wanted to meet that person himself, which was why he decided to take on the mission. More importantly, that person was currently in Glory Shelter. Hansen arrived at a room in Glory Shelter at the agreed time and saw Sun Minghua himself. Because he had maxed out on all Geno points, Sun Minghua did not look like an old man 80 years old. He seemed to be around 40. In addition to Professor Sun Minghua, Hansen also saw the 3 members of Glory Special Squad who were responsible for the professor's safety in Glory Shelter. Hansen, is it? Looks like I will become your problem soon. Professor Sun Minghua greeted Hansen warmly. Your safety is my duty, said Hansen. However, the 3 members in Glory Special Squad were not as friendly to Hansen. It was still in their shelter, while a stranger, Hansen, was intervening in their mission, which was upsetting to them. Lu Ming was quite a hunk and carried a huge sledgehammer that looked familiar to Hansen. Hansen thought about it and recognized the sledgehammer to be the sacred blood gear he gained from killing the sacred blood creature in Sand Valley. He gave the sledgehammer to Huangfu Pinking for action and now it had ended up in Lu Ming's hands. The fact that Lu Ming was able to use this sledgehammer showed that he had special gifts in terms of strength. Sun Minghua did not go to Steel Armor Shelter directly, but needed to collect some specimen of the plants near Glory Shelter first, which would take about 10 days. To Hansen's surprise, Sun Minghua's destination was Copper Mountains. Professor, why did you become obsessed with botany in God's sanctuary? After knowing Sun Minghua better, Hansen knew that he was not someone hard to talk to. One night, while everyone was eating dinner around a bonfire, Hansen voiced his doubt. Sun smiled and said, it is more like a family tradition. My grandfather and father were all researchers in this area. I have picked up a lot of knowledge of botany since little and have always been interested in studying it. Hansen pondered and did not say anything. He did not know how to ask what he was wondering about. The creatures in God's sanctuary could contribute Geno points to humans, while no one had ever gained any Geno points from eating the plants. In addition, the majority of the plants were harmful to the human body. It seemed Sun Minghua had seen through Hansen's mind. Or maybe it was because too many people had asked the same question before. The reason I study the plants in First God's Sanctuary is to make some contributions to mankind. The professor smiled and said, the creatures in God's sanctuary could provide genopoints, but the plants could not do the same. They were all living things, so why would they differ so much? Hansen shook his head, as he did not have a clue. In fact, my family used to be in the study of medicine, and had a focus in the ancient herbal medicine. My grandfather and father believed that since all sorts of herbs had medical values, we could also take advantage of the plants in God's sanctuary. In fact, we all know that many plants were harmful to the human body, but this further proved that these plants were effective. Sun Minghua went on and on with his explanations. Hansen described the fruit tree to Sun Minghua, while Sun Minghua did not know what plant it was, let alone its effects. However, after hearing about the turtle from Hansen, Sun Minghua said, in my decades of research, I have witnessed a lot of creatures consuming plants, despite that the majority of them did not need to eat plants. According to my observation, the creatures did not consume plants to maintain life like we do. Then what do they eat the plants for? Hansen couldn't help asking. I have given a lot of thought to the question, and my conclusion is that those plants might be helpful to their reproduction. Sun Minghua hesitated and said, the Glory Special Squad members did not agree with Sun Minghua. Why on earth would plants help reproduction? It's not like the plants were Viagra. However, Sun Minghua's words reminded Hansen of the golden growler. Although the golden growler did not need plants, it consumed tons of creatures before it gave birth to its baby. Hansen was guessing. Either plants or meat, all the pregnant creatures needed to eat. If that was true, Hansen felt like he had an opportunity. Maybe the turtle was eating to give birth as well. If it was anything like the golden growler, it would produce its life essence to feed its baby after giving birth. At that time, Hansen would have a chance to snatch its life essence. Hansen had only just started on practicing overload. He was afraid that the turtle might return to the ocean. If he could snatch the life essence while the turtle was giving birth, that would be ideal. Hansen, is that turtle you mentioned still in Copper Mountains? While Hansen was still thinking how to ask Professor Sun Minghua to check on the turtle, the professor asked him first. It should still be there. No one had seen it come out, replied Hansen hurriedly. All right, let's go see the turtle. It might be helpful to my research. Sun Minghua decided on the schedule. The Glory Special Squad did not have much to object. They did not participate in the campaign to hunt the turtle, but they had heard about it. There were plenty of creatures in the Copper Mountains, but none of them was scary. In their opinion, the turtle should not be too dangerous since it was not fast. Only Hansen knew that the turtle had an unbelievable speed. Hansen did not say anything about it and only wanted to check on the turtle from afar. In addition, Hansen would like for the professor to determine whether the turtle was actually giving birth. Sun Minghua should be an authority in that. The group of people marched into Copper Mountains. Sun Minghua had a great physique and a sacred blood mount, so they had a smooth trip. Hansen did not have much to do and kept chatting with Sun Minghua. Sun Minghua had spent decades doing research in First God's Sanctuary, while all his friends had left sooner or later. It was rare that a young man would listen to him like Hansen. Since Hansen was interested, Sun Minghua had shared a lot. Sun Minghua did his research for his interest as well as to benefit mankind, so he had nothing to hide and taught Hansen a lot of practical knowledge, such as how to determine which plants were edible and which plants were toxic. Hansen memorized all the information, which might be life-saving in the future. After traveling on the back of the golden growler, Hansen understood that once he left the shelters, it was not easy for a human to survive in the wild. After searching in Copper Mountains for days, they finally spotted the turtle, which was chewing on some black and brown vines. Professor, let's just stay here and watch. If we get closer, it might be risky. Hansen stopped Professor Sun Minghua, who was approaching the turtle. Sun Minghua frowned and said, this is a bit too far and I could see nothing. Can we get closer? Try the telescope first. It is dangerous to approach, said Hansen. What can we possibly see from here? Go, Professor. We will protect you, said Lu Ming after throwing Hansen a look of disapproval. Sun Minghua wanted to get closer to the turtle. Jin Riji checked the distance and did not object. Professor, the sacred blood creature is something different. Last time, a lot of people from Glory Shelter were flying to hunt it, while they not only failed but also lost many men. How about we stay farther from it? Hansen tried to talk the professor out of it. Since he was the one who mentioned that to the professor, Hansen was not willing to see any mishaps happening. Hansen, do you doubt the ability of Glory Special Squad? Said Lu Ming displeased. Jin Riji and Jin Keelai couldn't help frowning. Hansen had been a good fellow so far, but now he was trying to intervene in their mission. Sun Minghua quickly said, "Hansen, don't worry. We are not trying to approach it, just get a bit closer. It will be fine." Hansen did not know what to say to them. He could not tell them that he was not a sacred blood creature, but a super creature. The professor had already moved and got closer to the turtle under the protection of the Glory Special Squad. "Professor, stop right here. We really cannot go any farther." Being just 1,000 feet away from the turtle, the voice of Lu Ming alerted the turtle, which turned around and had its eyes fixed on them. Hansen felt a chill down his spine. He remained still and watched the turtle. Lu Ming was still upset and wanted to add something, but Jin Riji had also noticed the turtle's movements and stopped him. Suddenly, the turtle moved all its 4 legs and rushed to them as fast as a bird. Feeling worried, Hansen quickly yelled at Sun Minghua, "Professor, run." Although Sun Minghua had maxed out on all his Geno points, he did not spend any time practicing martial arts and did not react fast enough. "It's just a turtle. I will smash it right now." Lu Ming yelled and smashed at the turtle with his sledgehammer. The sledgehammer was very heavy, but the turtle did not even dodge. Its speed became even faster and the sledgehammer ended up on its shell, instead of its head, where Lu Ming was aiming. Bang! The hammer as large as a barrel knocked on the turtle's shell and made a sound of metal. Lu Ming screamed. The sledgehammer was a destructive weapon, so it kicked back a lot stronger than other weapons. Lu Ming had used all his force in the strike, which failed to hurt the turtle at all. On the other hand, all the bones in his hands were broken. The sledgehammer was blown away into rocks and left a huge hole there. Hansen did not stand still. He immediately made a kick. It was not at the turtle, but at Lu Ming, who was still screaming. Lu Ming was kicked a dozen feet away. Both Jin Riji and Jin Qilai were shocked, but they immediately saw the turtle bit where Lu Ming was standing so fast that they could not even tell what the turtle's neck looked like. "Don't stand here. Go." Seeing Sun Minghua froze on his mount, Hansen yelled, ran to the sledgehammer and summoned the Fairy Queen. Jin Riji and Jin Qilai picked up Lu Ming and wanted to run, while the turtle made another bite at Jin Riji, who was the closest to it. Jin Riji did not have any time to dodge, but he was fast enough to block the turtle bite with his sacred blood knife. Crack! The turtle bit the sacred blood blade and broke it in half. A sacred blood weapon was destroyed like that. The Glory Special Squad were almost scared to death. The knife was a sacred blood weapon and was broken under the turtle bite easily. It quickly reached out its neck and bit toward Jin Riji, who was empty-handed. Jin Riji had used all his energy and there was no way he could avoid this bite. Damn it! Jin Riji quickly stepped back, but he knew he could not make it. Lu Ming and Jin Qilai did not even have any chance to save Jin Riji, given how fast the turtle was. Bang! Something giant and black suddenly fell on the turtle's head and knocked its head down. Hansen. Jin Riji escaped death and was as pale as a sheet of paper. Seeing Hansen, who had knocked the turtle down with the sledgehammer, he was suddenly thrilled. "Don't stay here. Run." Hansen watched the turtle solemnly. Although the head of the turtle was knocked down, Hansen did not feel it was broken. It felt like smashing on rubber. As he expected, the turtle raised its head and shook it around, its emerald-like eyes fixed on Hansen. Hansen did not hesitate and smashed at the turtle again. Using heresy mantra, his heart was beating like thunder and his blood and chi were circulating at a tremendous speed, making his veins stand out. The sledgehammer was so heavy that even Lu Ming could only slowly brandish it a dozen times. With Lu Ming's speed, it was impossible for him to ever hit the turtle. Hansen was stronger than Lu Ming to begin with, but even he could not hit the turtle relying on just his strength. Only with the heresy mantra and overload, Hansen managed to hit the turtle's head when it was not paying attention. Although Hansen's second strike was still under dual enhancement, the turtle quickly withdrew its head and avoided the sledgehammer. The moment it drew back its head, the turtle stepped hard on the ground and threw itself at Hansen like a cannonball. Hansen waved his arm backward and knocked the sledgehammer on the turtle's shell, sending the turtle back to the ground. However, the turtle quickly bit the handle of the sledgehammer and broke it in half. All Hansen had left in his hand now was a part of the handle. He hastily ran to the side, while the turtle was pissed off by Hansen and decided to throw itself again at him. "Hang in there, we're here to help." Jin Riji summoned another weapon and was ready to help Hansen. Hansen felt almost depressed. "What the heck are you doing staying here? Are you trying to get killed by the turtle? This is a super creature and none of you would be alive if you stay." "Help my ass. Run, I'll be right after you," Hansen exclaimed at Jin Riji. Jin Riji paused and quickly ran away with the others, looking back at Hansen while running. Hansen quickly dodged the turtle and rolled toward the sledgehammer with its handle broken. Although the handle was broken, there was still a part of it attached to the hammer. Hansen grabbed the sledgehammer and smashed at the turtle again. The three united with Sun Minghua and then stopped, watching Hansen fighting the turtle alone. The sledgehammer was like a toy in Hansen's hand, moving as fast as lightning bolts. The three of them were all dumbstruck. They knew very well how heavy the hammer was. It's all me. If it were not for me, the turtle would not have noticed us. I will apologize to Hansen, and I will fight the turtle myself. I will not let him sacrifice himself for us, said Lu Ming with his face flushed. What's the point in staying these? We should focus on helping Hansen get out of there, exclaimed Jin Keelai. How could they possibly think of anything? The level of the turtle was beyond their wildest imagination. There was no solution whatsoever. With the dual enhancement, Hansen found he was still slower than the turtle even when he was using Sparticle. However, to Hansen's surprise, his practice was not a waste. There was no need for him to be faster than the turtle. What was most helpful to Hansen at this point was the kiting skills he learned from Queen. Hansen had always been good at prejudgment. Using kiting skills, he could calculate when the turtle would strike in order to avoid its bite. Hansen was executing his strategy with each step, luring the turtle to bite where he had designed. This way, it was much easier for Hansen to dodge its attacks. Although Hansen was not as fast as the turtle, he could still run away from its attacks. It was like running from the bullets. Hansen had already been fighting at his limits. He had hit the turtle with the sledgehammer a few times, but such frightening force did not even cause much damage to the weakest part of the turtle's body. Strength, I need more strength, Hansen shouted inwardly. However, he felt quite content that he was able to fight the turtle for this long. Avoiding the turtle bite one more time, Hansen had come to a cliff, from which he jumped without hesitation to avoid the turtle's attacks and the gaze of his company. After some discussion, the group decided to return to Glory Shelter for maintenance before they came back for the turtle. Hansen took the opportunity to go back to Blackhawk. He quickly logged in Gladiator, opened his friend list and found Queen online. Hansen was overjoyed and hastily sent her an invite. The kiting skills he learned from Queen were still faulty. There were many things that he failed to understand. If he could actually learn the kiting skills from Queen, maybe he could fight the turtle without relying on speed. Therefore, Hansen wished to fight her another time and observe her kiting skills. However, Hansen did not know whether Queen would agree to fight him. After all, the two of them were too far apart in strength. Hansen estimated that a super creature should have a fitness level around 40, while the strongest humans in First God's Sanctuary could only reach 20 in some aspects. Most good men usually had an average fitness index of 15. Even those who had maxed out on all 4 types of Geno points in First God's Sanctuary only had a fitness index of 30, which was still not enough for one to kill a super creature. However, an evolver with a fitness level beyond 100 like Queen would be able to kill a super creature easily. An evolver would not be able to return to First God's Sanctuary unless the evolver had just evolved. Even for Queen, when she was an unevolved person or had just become an evolver, she would not have been able to fight the turtle. Hansen was not sure whether Queen would agree to fight him, but he wanted it so much. One more round. Just one more round. Seeing Hansen's invite, Queen was dazed. Her setting was not to accept invites from strangers, and she had never had a friend before, so she had never received an invite. Seeing the invite was from a soldier on warship, Queen hesitated and clicked yes. Hansen was exhilarated to see Queen and her amazing kiting skills again. After the countdown was over, Hansen immediately ran toward her. He did not dare to wait for her attacks. Their fitness levels were so different that he would be killed immediately. After all, his fitness index was only 30, while hers was probably 100. Queen only dodged the punch like last time, and did not fight back. Feeling excited, Hansen threw his other fist at her and made a step. Queen was surprised. Hansen's punch and step were not as simple as they appeared to be. Although he was not that fast, in Queen's eyes, his moves were unexpected. Hansen's step was almost like her kiting skills, making it impossible for her to force Hansen into a corner. Is he copying me? Queen's gaze fell upon Hansen. She continued to observe. Very soon, Queen was certain that Hansen was mimicking her kiting skills. Although there were many errors and defects in his movements, it was amazing that he could achieve this level in such a short amount of time. Queen did not rush to end the combat. She wanted to see how well Hansen could do. Kiting skills were not for anybody. It was easy to learn, but hard to become a master at. It was like playing Go. Whoever knew the rules could play, but it was extremely difficult to excel at Go. Queen was good at kiting skills. At least among the opponents that she had met, no one could match her level. Hansen's performance more or less surprised her. He was a bit green and was still making mistakes, but in her eyes, he had his own understanding of the skills. Very soon, Hansen was pushed to the corner like last time. Bang! With another kick, Hansen was eliminated. When he returned to the game, Queen had already gone offline. However, Hansen did not feel upset, but more excited than ever. He was not sure if Queen was intentionally teaching him. Her last few steps were indicating the weaknesses in his kiting skills, which was why he felt terrible toward the end. This was not a bad thing for Hansen, but a good thing. Queen was like a teacher, helping him find his mistakes. Whether she was intentional or not, Hansen was grateful to Queen. Kiting skills were crucial for him to hunt super creatures, and kiting skills like this could not be practiced through tutorials like Hyper Geno Arts. Hansen had gained an incredible asset through fighting Queen. Jinriji asked Hansen to return to God's Sanctuary, as everyone was prepared to observe the turtle again. Hansen agreed. Lu Ming's hands had not recovered, so only Jinriji, Jin Qiulai, Sun Minghua and Hansen were going to the Copper Mountains. However, when the four of them reached the same spot, the turtle was no longer there. Sun Minghua collected some fragments of the vines that the turtle fed on last time. Because the turtle had eaten up all the vines, there were only some crumbs left. The group continued to search the mountains. Before they went far, they saw a red creature standing on a mountain in the opposite direction, looking around. The creature was 6 feet tall, looking like it was made of copper. It had scorpion's upper body, snake's tail, and 6 sickle-like claws. Copper Demon. Jinriji was excited when he spotted the creature. Hansen was also exhilarated. Before he came to Copper Mountains, he had done some research about the region. In Copper Mountains, the most famous creature was the Copper Demon. The reason it was well known was that even the weakest copper demons were mutant creatures. Sometimes, even sacred blood copper demons could be spotted. The beast soul of a copper demon was the shapeshifting type, which was rare. "Let's go and try our luck. Maybe there is a chance for us to gain the beast soul," said Jin Qiulai excitedly. No one had any objections. It was rare that they had a chance to see such a famous creature. Even if it was just a mutant one without wings, they could find their luck. When the four of them went up the mountain, the thing they saw made them gasp. Where the copper demon was standing was a stone platform, behind which was a cave. At this point, many copper demons were creeping out of the cave, swaying their snake tails, their claws making sounds of metal. Among them, one was especially tall and had a deeper color than others. It also had red metal wings. The copper demon they saw in the beginning had already spotted the group of people and started to hiss. Shortly, dozens of copper demons flooded from the cave. It seemed that there were still more in the cave. The first sacred blood copper demon flapped its wings and dived at the group of people like a bomber. "Damn it, cover the professor." Jinriji became pale and summoned a beast soul knife, trying to block the sacred blood creature's attack. Hansen, however, was overjoyed. He was just wondering where to find a sacred blood creature, and one threw itself at them. What a pie in the sky. Hansen directly summoned his horn bow and mutant black stinger arrow and made a shot at the sacred blood copper demon. Jinriji was about to fight the sacred blood creature with all he got, but suddenly saw a black arrow flying toward the creature's eyes. The sacred blood copper demon reacted fast. It suddenly clasped its 6 blade-like claws and blocked the black arrow. However, as its claws touched the arrow, the black stinger arrow suddenly started to spin like a drill head, bouncing off the creature's claws. The arrow had touched the copper demon's eye and penetrated its head immediately. Thump! The sacred blood copper demon, which looked so powerful, suddenly fell from the sky and died. Sacred blood creature copper demon killed. No beast soul gained. Drink its blood to gain 0 to 10 sacred geno points randomly. Hearing the voice, Hansen lamented that he did not gain a beast soul from this perfect sacred blood creature. Everything was just fate. Jin Qiulai and Jinriji were dumbstruck. Shooting the sacred blood copper demon dead with 1 arrow, that was unbelievable. Since the sacred blood copper demon was killed, the mutant copper demons quickly ran toward the cave. The group of people chased after them. However, after they killed several slow mutant copper demons, they could no longer find the rest of them. The cave was deep and the paths inside were crisscrossed, so the group did not follow them, but chose to take care of the dead bodies first. The copper demons' bodies were as tough as metal. There was no meat to eat. All that was edible was some blood inside their body. Hansen carefully let the purple blood out and poured it into a bottle. Such a large sacred blood copper demon only had a bottle of blood. Since Hansen took care of the sacred blood copper demon alone, he did not need to share it with anyone. Hansen drank the blood in one breath and heard the voice telling him he had gained 3 sacred geno points. With the light of the torch, the group saw the copper demons on the other side of the river, creeping deeper into the cave. "Shall we keep chasing?" Jinriji asked Hansen. Hansen checked the dark underground river and frowned. He He still remembered the terrible experience he had last time he was in an underground river. The two obsidian dragons almost killed him. The cave was so dark that the light of the torch could not help them see inside the water. Instead, the reflection of the light almost blinded them. Hansen was scared that some aquatic sacred blood creatures like the obsidian dragons might suddenly appear here. No matter how strong he was, he would not be the creature's match underwater. Do you have wings? If we were to chase them, we should probably fly across the river, Hansen pondered and said. He did not really want to step into the water. Let me fly over first and try. If there is no danger, you can go. Hansen had a spooky feeling about the river, but he did not see anything. Since they were at this point already, he could not tell everyone to go back. In addition, Sun Minghua had discovered some interesting plants on the way here and seemed to be very interested in exploring the cave. Standing on the bank, the rest of the group watched Hansen fly nervously. Darkness and water naturally brought fear to humans. When Hansen reached the middle of the river, he suddenly felt something was odd in the river. A chill went down his spine. Boom! With a huge splash in the water, a giant creature sprang out of the river with its mouth wide open, trying to swallow Hansen as a whole. I knew something was wrong. Hansen stared into the creature's mouth. From the underground river emerged a head that was somewhat like an alligator's. With its mouth wide open, it looked like the monster could easily swallow an entire cow, let alone a human. There were thousands of teeth in its mouth, which looked like a meat grinder. Even a body made of steel would be minced instantaneously. Hansen was not sure what the status of this creature was, so he dared not fight it head-on. If it was a super creature, Hansen would probably get himself killed. Without saying anything, Hansen flapped his wings and shifted his body to the side. Pushing on the tip of the creature's mouth, Hansen returned to the bank. The creature roared and followed Hansen. As its entire body came out of the underground river, everyone gasped. The creature's head looked like a crocodile's, while its body was like a centipede without feet. Run! Hansen summoned the tornado wolf, shooting at the creature riding on his mount. Although Hansen did not know whether it was a sacred blood creature or a super creature, it would be unlikely for him to hurt a creature with a body 300 feet long even with the 3-blade harpoon. In addition, with such a gigantic body, this creature must be strong as well. The moment they were in the hole, the creature immediately threw itself at them. However, its head was much bigger than the entrance. It was as if the creature could not feel pain. It repeatedly hit the entrance with its head, making it bigger and bigger. Quick! Jinriji exclaimed, and the group went deep inside the hole since they had no other option. The hole led to a tunnel. After they had walked for about a mile, they saw an opening and was again in a big cave. There were paths both to the left and right. Jinriji looked both ways, but could not tell which way would lead to the exit. He then asked Sun Minghua, "Professor, do you know which way we should go?" Sun Minghua walked to the side and pinched some plants that looked like moss growing on the cave wall. He observed it and said, "We should probably go left, since it seems that air was more likely to come from the left." "Let's go left then." Jinriji trusted Sun Minghua in this respect. Previously, when he was covering Sun Minghua, the professor explained these things to him, but Jin did not quite understand. They could hear thumping behind them. Obviously, the creature did not give up and was still hitting the entrance. There was no way they could return the way they came from. Hansen followed the rest. He was not really worried. Even if there was a super creature, he could always manage to run away even if he could not beat it. Very few creatures could threaten his life in First God's sanctuary. The professor kept telling them which direction to go by observing the moss. After they had walked in the cave for half a day, they were completely lost. When they were in a large opening again, Hansen saw that the underground river had become a waterfall, running down the cave wall into a pool. Next to the pool, a black turtle as large as a car was drinking. "It is that turtle. What is it doing here?" Sun Minghua gasped in excitement. "Lower your voice." Jinriji was startled and quickly stopped Sun Minghua. Luckily, the waterfall was loud and the turtle was very close to it, so it did not hear Sun Minghua's voice. The group of people stepped back before they started to discuss. "Professor, do you think there is another way to go?" Jinriji asked. He pondered and said, "According to how the moss grows, the air should come from this giant cave." Jinriji smiled bitterly and asked Hansen, "What do you think, Sen?" Hansen hesitated and said, "It is very likely that the turtle had come here to eat. After eating, it should be going away. If we follow it closely, we might be able to get out of here." "True. Why did I fail to see that?" Sun Minghua said gladly. "This way, we can observe the turtle and find a way out in the same time." "Great idea, Hansen." Jinriji and Jinkilai did not have other ideas. The four decided to follow the turtle. They did not dare to approach the turtle, but observed it from afar. Although it was dark in the cave, the red patterns on the turtle shell were glowing in the dark like lava. The group did not need anything else to see the turtle. After the turtle had finished drinking, it slowly waddled to the cave next to it. The four exchanged a look and followed the turtle from afar. With the glowing patterns on the turtle, they would never lose sight of it. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.